Well, just a minute, sir. Let me. Is my PPT visible to everyone? Yes.
No,
Hello,
sir.
sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir,
That's not
you're
visible.
you are only visible.
Okay, okay. Just a minute, ma'am. Let me show you. Okay, now I think it is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
thank you, sir, Vigneswar sir, and all the team who are involved in this program. As you know, this one-day effective online teaching training is very much essential for everyone nowadays, because everybody knows that what kind of current situations we are facing right now. It's very difficult or near to impossible to take this physical form of classes. So we have only one option, that is called virtual mode of teaching and learning processes, which has started across the world, across the countries of the world. So even though even last few hours we have experienced some kind of issues with taking online classes, because sometimes connectivity has create problems. Sometimes we are not capable of handling certain softwares. So in short, we can say we have lot of challenges, particularly in India, related to online teaching and training. Besides this, it is also very problematic situations, particularly in the state like Odisha, because we have not sufficient, infrastructure for taking online classes. But despite all kinds of limitations, we are trying our best in a collective manner to reach to each and every student of remote area. And for that reasons, we are also developed our capability so that we can easily reach to each and every individual. So with this, I can simply say we are suffering from certain problems, that is called CAC. We have a problem of connectivity related to electricity, related to internet connectivity. We have accessibility, that is, many do not have many gadgets. Many students, particularly in Odisha and particularly Gajapati district, where majority populations are living below poverty line. Okay, so having Android
Sir,
mobile or laptop is
sir, make it full
hello.
view. Sir, make it full view.
Oh, sure, sure, sure. I will make it full view. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Now it is. So for that reason, we have accessibility issue, we have connectivity issue, and we also have capabilities issues, because we are not trained in that way. We are not expert on IT, or we are not IT professionals. But despite that, it is our personal experience, and particularly for me, whatever I am going to share with you, which I have learned within 2 to 3 months from the since the lockdown. Okay, and I had taken certain classes by certain means of online platforms. So today's topic of my presentation is fundamentals of e-content development and how we are going to transact it, and what are the issues associated with it. So let me see this slide. So this slide, I will try my level best to cover some of the basic things of e-content, and as you know, uh, that in this particular e-content, we try to get acquainted with meaning, nature, advantage, process, and format, which covered by our Jain Patnaik sir. Many basic tools of for e-content development has covered by Vignesh sir, and open educational resources, which are very much essential for the development of e-content. Certain issues we have to take care of, like plagiarism and copyright issues, or the intellectual property right or copyright infringement. We have to understand these things before make the content available in the public domain or available to our students. And this is last is the licensing things, that is CCL, which we are going to know about Creative Commons licensing. So let's proceed to the next slides. Okay. Now, as you know, just a minute. Okay. Now, as you know, the meaning of electronic content or digital content that transmit over computer, that which have already explained by Jane Patnaik sir. So I proceed more quickly. So basically, it is all about creating, providing, and distributing of informations, mostly in digital format, which can be viewed, through remotely through different gadgets like Android mobile and, for example, computers. So it also involves not only the production of e-content, but also we have to store it electronically, we have to publish it electronically, or which is known as e-publishing. That is why it is a simply we can say is an art and science of planning, designing, developing, storing, implementing, and evaluating of content digitally. Okay, so in that sense, we have to understand the e-content, which is very learner friendly, which should be learner friendly, so that they can easily navigate to these resources. So as Patnaik sir had already explained that e-learning is the processes and e-content is the product. So this product has to be transacted through digital platforms, through virtual classroom, web-based classroom, etc. So let us understand the meaning, nature of the e-content, okay, which is partially or maybe majority section has covered by our Patnaik sir. Now, all forms of digital information comes under comes under the nature of e-content. It also involves in a living expression of life. Like we are in social sciences, many things we are going to share with our students, like images, sounds, recorded our heritage of our country. It is involves innovative applications of computer, okay, in the teaching learning processes, internet-based text, video, audio, animation, visual environment, etc. We are integrated with it. E-content is definitely the latest method of instruction nowadays. Though IB Saucer has already pointed out in 1986, national policy on education has emphasized the this online kind of teaching and learning processes, but we are still very late. But we have to develop certain skills so that we can face upcoming challenges in future. Let's understand the basic features of e-content. It is basically a technological, independent, learner-friendly, or easy navigation, or we can say learner-centric. Okay, whatever the materials, whatever the content we are developing, mostly they are going to be used by the learners, or say simply we can say it is a client-centric, self-instructional materials or models, which can also be used by the teachers, by the other colleagues. Some of the major things that which are going to deal with, that is the image, audio, video, animation, etc., come under the basic features of e-content, which we will dealing with in the subsequent slides. Now, these are the major advantage that we are getting, but in the e-content format. For example, it is convenient for the students. They can access anytime. There is no hard and fast rule that time, which basically we do find in regular classes or offline classes. So they can completely view the entire content which you have recorded, which you have stored, and it also provides self-spacing facility for every individual. Sometimes, for example, when we were the learners of some online classes, certain aspect we are not capturing very quickly because we are not that much of advanced in IT. So what we are doing actually at that time, we are trying repeated again and again the same things, and we get acquainted with it. So it also provides the self-spacing for every individual, every learner, which is very much difficult for offline classes. It is most of interactive engagement of users. Many developed countries such as Singapore universities has already developed, and they have experimented that it is one of the best way to engage the students. Okay, because we are giving different kinds of assignment to do electronically, and whenever you are getting a very new toys, for example. So you are trying your best to play with it. Hello, hello, hello. Is my voice is audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Hello.
Audible.
Okay. Okay. So that is why, it also gives you, minimization of time and finance. For example, in our day-to-day classes, students coming from different areas, they do find, different kinds of problems. So you can also minimize your time and finance. You can also maximize these times and finance for the further advancement of the platforms, right? E-content is also facilitating individuals' instructions, which, that I have already explained, that self-pacing facility is there. We can also reuse the materials again by, by improving, because when you are doing fast e-materials, then definitely in the second times it will be improved, right? So we can reuse, and adaptability of the materials can be possible through these things. We can also give the hyperlink for different contents. Okay, we can directly go to web page. We can go to different online journals, online ebooks. You can go with it, and it is also a non-linearity. Order of access can be determined by the user. So which is very much close to the second point, like self-pacing. Then we can go for, multimedia, addition of multimedia in the presentation, such as, sound, video, etc., and so on. Besides this, we can also have the facility. We cannot, minimize the book. Okay, hard copy book we cannot minimize in terms of size, right? So data density can be, such as storage capacity can be decreased, by compressing facility that we have on the online platforms, etc., etc. So it is portable. We can carry so many books, so many e-content, but it is not possible to carry, 10 to 15 books at a time, right? At the initial or everyday life, right? So we can also have different kinds of information that can be accessed by us. Now, if we look at the e-content, so whenever we are going to develop the content, we have to, the main target is our students, okay? We have to keep in mind whenever we are going to develop, from which background they are coming, what is the level of their understanding, how much they can grasp. So in the as they are the users, or they are the customers of these products, so we have to take into account when we are going to prepare the e-content for the students. Again, the second important aspect is the content. That is very, very important. There are many different kinds of content, but whenever we are going to transact the content, we have to think which are the key content, which are the supplementary content. So we are giving much focus on the key content, because if we are also included supplementary content in the presentations, then you will do find that the class will be very lengthy, and the students will be distracted. They cannot put concentration, which the two speakers has already explained. You have to divide the content again into different small segments, so that it is easier for the student to grasp, easier for the student to understand the content more easily. And then again, as a teachers, we do why we do call a teacher, because we are having some experience on pedagogical aspect, okay, how to teach the students. So we do also consider the pedagogical aspects, such as whether we are going for only lecture mode, or whether we are going for discussion mode, or whether we are going for question answer sessions. So we have to discuss the different pedagogical aspects when we are developing the e-content, right? Then again, after development of e-content, it is very much essential to present this e-content in a more systematic manner. That is why I have said that e-content is also not refers to the productions of the content, but it also refers to the storing as well as presentation part of it. So that matters a lot. So presentation sections, we have to understand the sequence of the presentations, which having some kind of linkages with the previous, and the post slides in the presentation, or in different forms of text, for example, doc, for example, you have PDF format, whatever it may be, but there must be a linkages within the different segment of the presentation. Then again, we have to take into account the technical features, because we are going to, distribute these things. At that time, we have to understand which platform should I use to, disseminate my product to the learners. Okay, whether they are capable of, accessing the presentations, or whether they are capable of, using the materials that I have already uploaded on the web, or which platforms which I have taken. Maybe for me it is much easier, for students it is very difficult. I am just sharing one experience of mine. In few days ago, I share a link to my student, and I said you just click it, but they did not connect with me, because for them it is for me, as I have experienced for few days, so it becomes more easier. For them it becomes very difficult to access it, but later on they get adjusted with it. So technical features need to be taken care of, and then again administrative consideration must be considered while we are developing and sharing the e-content. Now, let us understand the process of e-content. I have taken this figure from the MHRD guidelines for development of e-content for school and teachers education. Basically, e-content process has, 5 major components, that is analysis, design, developed, implementation, and evaluations. In short, it is called AD. And in the analysis stage, which I have already explained a little bit, but you need to taken care of about the L analysis, means the learner analysis. You have to take into account the background, about the mental ability of the students before you are designing e-content for them. For example, certain materials which are used in Oxford, Cambridge, or other universities, or top national universities, may or may not be applicable for the students like other parts of the country, because they are not able to, because the language problem is there. Many other problems are also there to understand. So that is why L analysis, that is the learner analysis, is essential before we are going to develop. Then we have to analyze the content. Analysis is more important. The second thing is the content analysis, which we are going to transact with them. Again, we have to take into account whether these things are fulfills the needs of the varieties of the learners. Many learners have different kinds of needs. So we have to take into account whether this particular materials is only for specific group of students, or it can fulfill the needs of the entire class. That need to be taken care of. Again, the context that I have already explained, such as technical aspect of the learner, such as whether they have access to this technology or not. Say, for example, learning environment. LE stand for learning environment, and the formal, whether the Jane Patnaik sir already said in his presentation. Basically, as we are going to record the features, so to my understanding and what I learned from the different platforms, that little bit we have to be formal, because it's going to in the public domain, so we have to take care of it. But again, if we are too much formal, then it is also very difficult, because students cannot very much linked with you in the formal space, because informality is very much essential in the teaching learning process, which he also touched about the social aspect of the antisocial kind of thing, or unsocial kind of thing. We cannot develop the social bondage which is essential for the students in the formative stage of learning. Okay, so in that particular context, we also a little bit liberal, so that this teacher and student relationship can be strengthened even in the virtual platforms. So besides this, we also take into account the physical aspect, technological aspect, and socio-cultural aspect of the learners. Okay, because we are varied in geographical space, culture, traditions, and technologically we are also varied, and financially definitely. Now, in the design part of the e-content, we have many things that need to be taken care of about the learning objective of the content. content structure, that is very, very essential. That means you have to be linked different parts of the content. Learning strategy, which is more of the pedagogical aspect. Then evaluation strategy, which is Jane Patnaik sir already touched upon it. And selecting suitable media, that is also very, very important. You have to design before going to, fully, completely develop the material. Then whether if you write, more text kind of things, that also not interesting. So you use more of visual or graphic user interface. So different softwares are also there which help you to develop different kinds of models, different kinds of pictures, different kinds of graphs, charts, diagram. You can develop different kinds of images. You can implement technical design, accessibility, usability, adaptability, scalability. That means across the students can be, or across the members. That is the scalability, that everybody can access it. Sustainability and interoperability, that is the ability to operate the system, and the testing that must be taken care of in this particular stage. And besides this, in the developed stage, we are most giving due importance on the production of the content. After production, we should have, preview the content, whether the necessary had only mentioned many times that at least 10 times you should review before, uploading in the public domain. Delivery strategy, process of documentation, such as storing, etc., so that they can easily, access the material, right? Okay. Then, implementation. In the implementation, basically, we are implement the students, and in that particular stage, we are also give more priority on whether it is effectively implemented or effectively satisfied the need of the learners as well as the teachers. And last but not the least, which is evaluate stage, that is the feedback. And if you look at, it is connected with each and every component of the design. Okay, evaluation is essential for analysis component. Evaluation is also essential for design and implementation stage also, because evaluation gives the feedback mechanism to improve your content. Okay, so then the phases of e-content, basically we have already discussed all these things. But again, besides that, we need to take care of the assessment criteria methods, mapping, very much essential, and the sequential of elements. I have already discussed on this, but most important aspect you should give importance on these things. Time consideration is very, very important component. Because how much time you are allocating to different segment of the content that you are transacting with the students, and besides this, you are also give due emphasis on the key content, and give more reinforcement is there. So again, you have to divide the content, which are the secondary content, which are the supplementary content, which are the prime content or the key content, so that you can save the time, you can retain the interest of the learners. And as two speakers have already pointed out, that if you divide the key content into different small segments, that will be much better for everyone, for you as well as for the learners. Now, after that, you have to be testing, finalizing and checking the things that you have already designed. So in that particular segment, we have to check whether the product is accessible or usable or not. We have to again give due emphasis on the measures of test, that is the evaluation part, whether our objective is being fulfilled by this content or not. Then again, we should be very much particular about the measures, what to measure, how to measure, and when to measure. That three things is very, very critical. That gives you, constant feedback for your improvement in the teaching learning processes. Now, it is very, very important to understand the forms of e-content. Okay, so we are basically, there are two forms of e-content, that is called assembled e-content and created e-content. Okay, in assembled e-content, there are many resources are available in the online platforms or the offline platforms. You just assemble the materials and you develop these materials for the and share with the students. This is particularly called, the assembled content. But in that particular context, you have to be taken care of about the IPR, intellectual property right, and copyright issue when you are, sharing with the content. And the second is the created e-content, which is mostly you have designed. You are the, authors of that content. Solely you have designed from your experiences, from, different learning experiences and all. So there are two kinds of form of e-content. Now let us understand, this is a very wonderful pictures I also taken from the same MHRD guidelines. Let us look at, there are various forms of e-content. First is the visual, you can show in the image form, you can show in the graphic forms. You can have the text form also, such as PDF, such as, doc file. Then rich internet applications, you can also have the web-based platforms to access different kinds of materials. Games, e-journals, database, different kinds of database. For example, NCERT has its own database. IGNOU has its own database to access different e-content. You have many presentations, many topmost professors, many, MIT or the Pennsylvania University or the top national universities, IITs, professors, they have their own lecture presentation. You can use them with taking permissions from them. Okay, there are also, we have audio presentations. You can also have the video presentation. Simulation is basically a virtual practical laboratory. You need to explore on it, basically the science faculties. Then we will also have the animation. Vignesh sir has already developed and share with you in maybe 10-15 days ago. Okay, you can go for animations also. Interactives, e-books, immersive content such as argument reality, virtual reality, etc., and energized books. So these are the various forms of e-content that you can go for it. These are the basic formats of the e-content. You have the text format such as PDF, DB, ODT, doc, etc. Image format, you have the PNG, JPG, mostly used by us. Audio format, you have the MP3, mostly we are using. There are other formats as well. Similarly, in video format, we have MP4, MOV, AVI. So there are many things. Besides that, in the mathematics or the statistics or any kinds of, calculations, we do often use Excel sheet or spreadsheet. So for that, XLS you can use. You have the CSV or ODX format. Then, interactive, you have Java, HTML format is also there. So through this, we have a different format of e-content. Now, this is the first section that we have covered. What is e-content? What are the advantages? What are the, nature of e-content? And what are the formats and forms of e-content? Now, many things has covered by Vignesh Mishra, Dr. Vignesh Mishra about the e-content development, tools for e-content development. But I quickly go through it because some may be left. Say, for example, basic tools for developing charts, graph, diagrams. You can use MindMasters. There is a link is given here. Adrasoft. Okay. In this case, you will have the MindMaster software where you can easily develop different kinds of charts, diagrams, platforms. So many, it has a wide applicability in science, social sciences. There are also one software called Pre-Plan software that can also be used for, different kinds of charts, diagram, etc., etc. And the Flickr, which you can directly download different kinds of, images from your own discipline and you can use it. Okay, because we do not have much issue of, intellectual property right if you do care about the, giving credit or acknowledge of the providers or the licensor. If you maintain these things, then you can use the materials easily. From the Flickr site, there are many images are available in the Flickr, right? Then Render Forest is another software which I do find very interesting for animation, for 2D and 3D videos. You can go to Render Forest, download it. You can go for 2D video, 3D video. OBS, that is Open Broadcast Software Studio, that is already explained in a very systematic manner, Professor Vigneshwar Mishra. He has also explained about the open source software, that is the video editor software. After having the class, you can edit certain things before uploading into the public domain. There is also a software called Filmora. You can also edit your video in the Filmora tools. Besides this, there are other platforms through which you can share your materials more quickly, that is Google Classroom. You can manage class, you can keep the attendance, you can take the assessment, and you also record the grade in the Google Classroom, which is a very useful platform in the web-based platforms. Then Google Forms, that is very, very essential for the assessment and evaluations. Google Site will help you to develop your own web page where you can share your video, you can share your many things like study materials, video, etc. You can share with your students, and you can also give your detailed biodata within it. I will show you about this Google Site which I have developed for the students. Then YouTube channel, you can also develop your own YouTube channel. You can share the content, you can take the presentation, you can share the presentation in the larger platform, that is the YouTube. Google Doc will help you to develop during the preparation of e-content. For example, there is a more write-up section is there and you are very much worried, very much tired. So you just read it. Google Doc will automatically type after listening your voice, and it also has the facility to translate the materials into different languages. Okay, so you can easily just dictate certain things. Computer will automatically type the materials, which can be more easier for you, more quick type possible in the Google Doc. Then MS PowerPoint will help you to develop different kinds of presentations. Besides this, you have Paint, MS Office, MS Excel, SPSS software is there to for different kinds of analysis in the for the particularly now it is being used by the science faculties. Although it is called the statistical package for social sciences, but it is wider applicable nowadays. We are more using the R software, Python for different kind of statistical analysis, and we do geographers, very much fond of GIS for developing different kind of, maps, choropleth map, chorochromatic map. We can develop by using GIS and remote sensing software. They are also available freely, and certain are, you have to pay for it. Now, the third component, which is more about the open educational resources, that is very, very important. Being a part of the creator of the e-content, let us understand what does it mean by open educational resources and from where do we get the open educational resources and many other aspects of educational resources, right? So I have taken again this picture from the guidelines for the development of e-content. It seems to be very confusing, but it is very simple to understand. Say, for example, open educational resources, which is free of cost, which is given in the open licensing system. So we can use these materials in our day-to-day life, into day-to-day classroom situations, right? Open educational resources, if we look at the type, which is, if we look at the cursor, then you can see the types is there. So there are various kind of educational e-resources, okay? That is called assignments, graphics, presentation, experiment, curriculum map. Then we will also have the text box. So there are many things within it, okay? So again, if you look at the little bit pink color segment, in this case, you can share with the educational materials, okay? How do you share these materials? Educational materials can be, open license. That is why it is called open educational resources. So these materials are open license and it is available in the public domain. Mostly it is available in the public domain. So you can share legally, you can share Okay, you can reuse, you can redistribute, you can remix, you can adapt, you can revise, you can use. So whatever the materials you are getting from the public domain and free licensing part, you can have the option to edit the materials as per your convenience, or depending upon the standard of the learners, you can modify the fact without, but again, you have to give credit to the original authors as well as the licensors. Okay. Then again, there is also called created. These open educational resources can be created through different softwares. Okay, presentation, text, such as audio, video, image, animation. You can create it. Then these are the things, that is the Creative Commons, which we will study more in subsequent slides. Then we will have the desirability. In this particular case, we have accessibility, who will access, eligibility, source file, etc. Then there is also called access. From how do we access these materials, open educational resources? So we get it through YouTube, through Google Advanced Search, CC Search, address. Through these things we can access the open educational resources. Nowadays, many many universities, many libraries, they make available the materials in an online platform free of cost in a public domain. You can get benefit out of it. Let me, for example, share some of the things, such as Orange Groups is there, Open Learn is there, OER Common, in NR, ODER, which is basically, even our government has also developed certain e-material sites, such as Sadhganga. You can get some materials. You will get EPG Pathshala. You will get. So these are the things we need to be taken care of. And we are getting the materials from these sites, and we are going to use it in our day-to-day life classes. So we have already explained about these things, materials, that is, e-journals, e-book, e-research report, lecture modules. Okay, many things we have already discussed. Now, these are the initiatives taken by the Government of India through MHRD, such as Swayam platform is there, where MOOCs have, there are many types of MOOCs are available. You can have their lectures, you can have their video, audio, etc., and you can use it with proper care of, what I have already said. There is also an initiative taken by Government of India that is called Global Initiative for Academic Network. In that particular sector, one particular student can, students of higher learning can associated with some professor in India, and he or she can also associated or work under certain professors in abroad as well. So it is a very good initiative, which is known as GIAN, Global Initiative for Academic Network. Then we will also have the digital content access, journals, ebook, National Digital Library. We have EPG Pathshala, Diksha, for example, 1 to 12th class. IGNOU also provides certain material. Sadhganga provides certain Indian thesis about different aspects of content. You can use it. eSodh Sindhu, which is the for journals. Then there are other things are also given there. I will share the PPT, so you can download it, you can go through it. Then these are the major open educational resources, such as Wikipedia materials you can use, but we will study what are the limitations of open educational resources in the subsequent slide. It is free ebook. MIT open courses are also there. EDX is also there, which are also there providing free open educational resources. Pennsylvania Institute of Technology or PITS libguides.com. This is the linkage link. You can go through it and download audio, video, image, etc. But whenever you are using, you just give the credit to the authors and the licensor. Then eGyan course is also there. cnx.org is there. We can use these materials which are available already for us. We can use in our day-to-day classroom context. Just a minute. Now, the fourth part is very, very important. That is the plagiarism that need to be taken care of when we are using. Often, we can say it is by knowingly or unknowingly we are doing some kind of activities in our development of e-content, but they have some kind of plagiarism. So we have to understand what is plagiarism and what are the major types of plagiarism, what are the punishment associated with the plagiarism, and how to avoid the plagiarism when we are developing the materials. Now, plagiarism, it simply refers to, just copying the things from someone's work, someone's ideas, concept, text, etc., without giving credit or without acknowledging him. So for that reason, we need to taken care of, because it is a very critical issue in present day context. Partially or completely we are copying. It doesn't matter how much you are copied, but if you copied a single word also, you have to give, credit to the original authors who have developed. Okay. So by giving credit, your credit will be not, you are going to lose your credit. Okay. Rather, it will be more, safe side for you, and you are also, I can say, in certain cases, if you are citing the authors which he has or she has developed, I think this particular context is essential in this particular paper. I can take it and I can cite it in a proper manner. Then we do not have any kind of plagiarism, right? So even sometimes we are very smart, or the students are very smart of, just copying and modifying the text, just changing the words from this side to that side, which is normally known as paraphrasing, right? And this is also kind of plagiarism. So whenever we are being, changing the things in our own way, despite that the idea is someone else. So for that reason, we should give credit to the original authors. Okay, sometimes we are very much casual about our self-plagiarism. I have published a paper in maybe last year, and again, as nobody will claim, because I have written this paper, I have published this paper. So even I take the certain portion of this paper in the present paper or in the present, presentations, then it is essential to cite. For example, if I have written a paper which is published in the statistical journals in Thailand last year, so if I use certain section of it, I should, cite Behera 2019 page number, something like that. I have to mention it. So self-plagiarism is also, but we do often casual within it. We said that, yes, I have prepared this, so why should I bother? Nobody will claim. But this is a kind of also plagiarism, because it is published by some other journal, so license is with them. So if you are taking certain things, so you have to give, citation. If you are giving citation, you are also giving the acknowledgement to the licensor. Okay. So that is why we have to taken care of. Now, University of Pittsburgh undergraduate plagiarism policy cites different types of plagiarism, right? For example, copying text as it is. You are directly copied the text, but without quotation marks, without punctuation marks or something like that. You just copied and pasted it in your paper. That is a kind of plagiarism. Then reordering the elements, which is known as, the paraphrasing kinds of thing. And this is also without citation. So everywhere I am saying from the very beginning, you have to cite the original authors when you are, using these things. Third is the copying piece. Say, for example, we are just copying certain section of the detailed paper, or certain words or key phrase of certain things. But again, I am saying you should mention from where you are getting. So this is also a kind of plagiarism. The paraphrasing without citation is also plagiarism. Reproduction of information that is not common knowledge or self-evident without citation. Okay, which is for example, at the initial stage, when COVID-19 first paper comes out, for that it is not cited. Okay, but later on we have to cite, even write the COVID-19, this particular word. From where do we get this COVID-19 means? Then using our own past materials, which I have already said, that is called self-plagiarism, and paying for another to contribute to your work without citation. For example, I am developed certain work and somebody helped me to develop this work, but I am not cited. So it is my basic ethics of research or developing certain materials that I should acknowledge his or her name and his or her contribution to this, e-content or development of certain papers, right? Paying someone else to do your work. Sometimes what we are doing, we just give work, you should do this. And after that, I taking the work and I just present it and all the credit I am taking that I have done this work. So this is also kind, paying someone else to do the work. You are also giving some money, you do this, I am giving certain amount of money and I am taking the materials and I use it. Okay, so purchasing materials or translating of someone's work's material to different language. So for that reason also it is very, very essential to acknowledge the persons. Now, it is a very interesting things that need to be taken care of. You sometimes you laugh. Then in the right hand side there is a picture and it is written, and I am sentencing you to 2 additional years because your book about the crime was plagiarized. So crime and plagiarism is also a crime. So he has written a book without giving citations properly, that is plagiarized. So before that, before using any materials, we need to take about what is plagiarism and how do we avoid it. Now let us go about the punishment section of the plagiarism. UGC has, appointed or approved the UGC Promotion of Academic Integrity and Prevention of Plagiarism in Higher Educational Institutions in 2018, meeting held in March 20. So teachers can lose their jobs, students' registrations can be cancelled if they found guilty in plagiarism. So they also give, percentage of plagiarism. If your percentage of plagiarism is 10%, then no penalty. 10 to 40% for thesis and dissertations, you have to resubmission within 6 months, like that. So there are various things are there. Even if 60 times or if you are doing the same thing repeatedly, then you will be face lot of problems about it. Now, how do we avoid the plagiarism? Now, plagiarism can be avoided if you give proper citation, if you give the credit to the original authors as well as the licensor. So paraphrase, you can paraphrase. So in your own language, but you have to give citation. There are many formats for citations like APA, American Psychological Association, Modern Language Association, Chicago, Howard, Vancouver style. There are many types of citations format are available on the web. You can just go through it, how to cite inside text, how to cite, how to refer in the reference sections, how to write in the footnote sections. There are how to write a chapter. For example, if I refer a chapter, how do I cite? If I refer to a e-journal, how do I cite? If it is a hard copy of the journal, then how do I cite? So there are each and every, if there are more number of authors, how do I cite? So you have to go through the detailed, guidelines are given by the APA format, MLA format. Even the ethics board of educational institutions can also develop their own mode of, citations. For example, Vigneswar sir has said on that particular meeting that we can have a e-journal. For that, you can develop your own citations as well. Okay. So for that reason, you are have to cite the author's title, publication years, or you can give the hyperlink. Nowadays, even nowadays, what we are doing, we are giving the hyperlink. Just clicking over the citation, you go to the direct link of the paper. You can go through the entire paper also. Many times you can see in the Elsevier journal, you can see in the Taylor Francis journals, they have their hyperlink systems. Now the quoting is very, very important. Where should we use double quote? Where should we use single quote? If it is 40 number of words, then you have to put it in a double quote. Okay, more than 40, then you have to do separate paragraph for that, and the size will be smaller than the real format or the font size. Then citing quotes, then citing your own materials such as self-plagiarism, referencing, etc. Before uploading the materials, you just check whether it is plagiarized or not, because it is better. So prevention is better than cure, for example. So before someone claims that it is his or her work, because you have not given the credit to him or her or the licensor, so you just check the materials whether there is a plagiarism or not. There definitely some percentage will come, because in the reference sections you will have the similar reference section with the other works, so we cannot avoid it. But within text does have any kind of plagiarism act. So for that reason, there are many free software like Duplicators, Copyleak, Paper Plagiarism is there, so you can go and check it before uploading the text materials, or you have also check the PPT. For giving some more details, you can just go for footnote or endnotes. These options are available in the Word. It can also be intentional or unintentional, that I have already told you that plagiarism, even sometimes we are not intentionally done, but it happens, so we do care about it before that. Last part, that is the intellectual property right and copyright, that we should take care of it before we are doing some kind of presentations or uploading the materials on the web platforms. Okay, now just a minute. Okay, now in this particular context, we are going to learn about intellectual property right and copyright infringement, penalties, and how to deal with copyright infringement. Then we will study about the Creative Commons and licensing types of Creative Commons. Okay, so simply I will go through quickly that Copyright Act was established in 1957, and it was modified in the form of Design Act 2000, and in 2012 there was an amendment of copyright. Okay, so it is basically intellectual property right is a safeguard for the creators, for the designers, or for the inventors. Okay, simply it is a legal right which protects creative works, inventions, and commercial goods. And intellectual property right is not only copyright, it is also the patents, designs, trademarks, and other type of confidential information, trade secrets, expertise, or know-how-to, reputations, etc., etc. So it is a bunch of different kinds of right. Okay, copyright is a part of the intellectual property right. So intellectual property rights are designed basically to provide remedies against someone steal another person's work or ideas. Okay, so it is a legal right. Again, we should understand about the copyright. So copyright is a legal right as per the country's law, and traditional material such as textbook, maybe 2 to 3 pages after that you will have the copyright C and within the circle. Okay, so that refers to the copyright. So it is all right written. Okay, but which are publicly available, they are some right right written, or completely no right. So let us understand the other things. Now it is mistakenly written WRIT, it is RIGHT. So copyright is a bundle of rights given by the law to creators of literary, dramatically, music, or artistic works, and the producer of the cinematography, film, sound recording, etc. Copyright provided under the copyright law of a particular country, and I have already told you that up to 2012 already 5 times amendment has been taken place in the copyright in India. So copyright infringement means it is a use of works protected by the copyright law without permissions for use. That I have said in the Flickr, there are many materials, you will get it, you can use it. Details about it. So usage where such permission is required. Permission is required, but you are not taking the permission and you use it. So you will invite certain kinds of problem, legal problem to you. Okay. So while reproduce or distribute or display the materials in a public domain. So simply we can say copyright infringement is when someone use the copyright protected work of someone else without permissions. Okay. Now penalties for copyright infringement. So 50,000 case may be fined. Once CS Das, Professor CS Das, told that his work somebody has published. So by without taking his permission, without taking the permission of the licensor, someone get published his paper. So this is a kind of violation of intellectual property right. So if he or he demands, then definitely he is bound to pay and he is bound to go to imprisonment for 6 months. If we repeatedly do the thing second times, then it will be 1 lakh and imprisonment time will be doubled. Okay. Then how do you deal with it? Copyright infringement. If someone claims that you have infringed my right, so at that context, you should go through it whether you have done or not. You can ask them how do you repay him, in what format. If there are dispute within it, you can also consult with certain legal professionals like lawyers. You can ask those who have the expertise, and you can go for subsequent steps to get rid of copyright infringement. Now this is a Creative Commons licensing, which ready-made license that provides for you can also use this licensing for your material also. And mostly Creative Commons licensings are of basically 4 to 5 types, and they are giving ready-made license, which can be not all right reserved, but they are basically some right reserves because they give some kind of accessibility. You can use it, you can modify it, you can bring certain changes within the existing materials. You can use it for the commercial purpose, but with limitation. That is why it is said some right reserved. Creative Commons licensings comes under the some right reserves, not all right reserves, but the hard book or hard copy are the all right reserve book. And this licensing also remains for a certain period of time. Okay, after that it comes under the open licensing system. So many old books nowadays, they are open licensing. They are because license the authority is not now hold the license of that materials. Then Creative Commons offers the legal and technical tools. You can share it, facilitate sharing, discovering certain creative works such as CC0 for the public domain, and CC0 is for right holders who wish to put their work into the public domain. Another license is the typically used by the developers of OER softwares. We are not using the OER software, that is called GNU, General Public License. So open licensing allows the users to adopt. It also allows open licensing. You can adopt it, you can change it, you can modify it, you can use it for the commercial purpose if it allows. Okay. Now these are the 6 type of licensing. One is attribution. One is that is the if this symbol is there, you can understood that this is called CC BY. It is mostly used. This symbol represents that this license let you distribute, remix, edit, modify, and even use for commercial purpose, as long as credit the original creation. Till the giving the credit to the original creators and the licensor, you can go for commercial purpose also, if the material has CC BY features. But if the materials have CC BY and SA, that is CC stand for Creative Commons, and it is common for all types of things. BYSA, that is the attribution is required. That is, you have to mention the original author's name and the licensors. Like attribution share alike, that refers to the license. This kind of license let you mix. Let me go to the next slides that can easily understood everyone. See, so CCBY refers to, you know, share alike. Okay, SA, that is share alike. In this particular context, what we can do, you know, if you get this kind of symbol that refers to the public domain, okay, you can use it, you can copy and publish. Attribution is not required, not necessary to mention the author's name in this particular section. But it is, I advise you should use it. Even it is not, but you should use it. It will not harm your work. You can use for commercial purpose, you can modify, adapt, and you change the license as well if it is this kind of symbol is there in the materials. If it is only one person inside the circle, that is called CCBY, that is called, you know, attribution alike. So attribution is required in this particular context. The, you know, you have to copy and publish, but you have to attribute. Okay, and if you can use it for commercial purpose, you can modify it and you can change the license. Third is the reverse C is there, so that is called CCBY, share alike. In this particular context, what you can do, you can go for copy and publish, you can attribute, you have to attribute. If go for commercial purpose, you can go for modify and adopt, and beside that you can also go for okay, but you cannot change the license. That is why it is share alike. You have to share the license as it is, so you cannot go for change the licensing. Okay, so you can use the material till you maintain the license, the original license. Okay, then third one, that is the CCBYND, that is non-derives. In this particular context, you can see that license remain unchanged in this particular case. Okay, you have to maintain the license, but you cannot modify or adopt, and other features you can do it, but you cannot modify or adopt. That is non-derives. Okay, then CCBYNC, that is NC refers to the non-commercial use. You can use the materials, you can copy, you can publish, you can you have to attribute, but you cannot use for commercial purpose. You modify it, you change your license, so you can do anything, but without commercial use. You cannot use for commercial purpose these materials. Okay, for academic you can use it, no issue, but for publishing book and getting some kind of income from it, this license does not permit you. Then last, BYNC and SA, that is attribution is required, that is non-commercial purpose and share alike. So in this particular context, copy, published, attribution is required, but you cannot use for commercial purpose. As I have already said, NC stand for non-commercial purpose, and you can modify it, but you cannot change the license, because share alike, you have to maintain the license as it was in the original paper. Then last, that is called BYNC and ND, that refers to attribution, non-commercial use, and non-derives. So in this context, materials can be copy, published, attribution is required, and licensing can be changed, but we cannot go for commercial use, we cannot go for modify or adapt. These are the references from where I collected all the materials. I go through it. You can also go through it, these materials. You have a better understanding of it. So thank you so much. Now I hand over the mic to Professor Bigneshwar Mishra.
Thank you, Boylochun sir.
Thank you, Boylochun sir. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to request our esteemed principal sir, for presidential remark.
Okay.
Sir, please.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Well, I would like to rather point out few lines before you. Actually, we were invited Jane Patnaik to be our, so to say, to outline the aim and objective of the workshop. But interestingly, he presented a vast, rather gamut of almost the entire work in a summary form. Definitely, that speaks of his, so to say, close acquaintance with the subject, and also his other liking to present something whenever he is asked. So far, the presentation of our two internal resource person are concerned. Actually, Dr. B. Misra, who spoke in Hindi, that was very interesting. And also, different types of messaging tools, almost, that are the most practical work, so to say, that is to be followed by our teachers. Well, here I will rather suggest those who are able to rather go ahead with the instructions and advice given by Professor Mishra, they can do it. Otherwise, for the fresh people like me also, well, whatever tools or app that you can use to go ahead in this frontier teaching, new era of education, from textbook learning to, we can say, mobile learning, that you can adopt, which is quite friendly for you and which you can operate. Next point is, well, definitely it will take a little bit more time to get acquainted properly, because maybe we are not that much of techno savvy, and also we don't have that much of right platform to go ahead the way our experts have other advised us, outline us. Definitely, I can say it is a bold step, a first step towards in the right direction. So also, Balochan Behra also opened on many issues relating to fundamental of the contents development, also ended with, well, plagiarism, intellectual property right, then copyright infringement. Okay, whenever we are either borrowing some material, some that is called original writings, we have to either take the permission, we have to be indebted to them, that is there. Okay, now, well, if it is in future required, then we have also got a student from this college who is now working as registered IIT Indore. He had also given me one request. If possible, he will also be a resource person for us to enlighten us in this that is called online teaching. So if at all it is required, because we need more types of this type of seminar, workshop, because, but actually it may be much more beautiful, much more truthful if we could have done it in the classroom itself, in our room itself, with the physical presence of one and all. Because of this COVID guideline, certain things are prevented for us, so we couldn't do it. The real charm comes when we rather do it in the physical presence of one and all. Well, I rather take this opportunity once again to offer my thanks to all, one and all, and if it is possible, during my small tenure, which is going to be ended by the end of this month, to have another important, meaningful, so to say, I can say, workshop, maybe in the form of that is called one symposium, or maybe in the form of one that is called seminar, that will carry, that will rather put our teachers on a friendly foot to go ahead. Definitely, this much of learning will help. Well, once again, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. This much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Professor Shubir Kumar Tung for vote of thanks. Please, sir. Good afternoon, all of you. And I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor I.B. Sahu sir for his valuable talks regarding the online teaching. and I would like to thank Dr. Jain Patnaik sir for his support and cooperation. It is my great opportunity to extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Vigneshwar Mishra, as he has taken lot of hardship and difficulties to conduct this e-workshop. And I extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Vailochan Behera sir for his valuable talk on online teaching. And finally, I will extend heartfelt thanks to all participants. And last but not the least, I will extend heartfelt thanks to Professor Nivedita Sansmal Madam. So now, I would like to request Professor I.B. Sahu sir to declare the end of the session. Thank you, sir.
Okay, once again, thank you all, and I declare this e-workshop to be over.
Thank you, sir.
Difficult